Hey everyone, it's Tom Numbers here. When I talk about numbers, it's the order of the alphabet, the numerical order of the alphabet. For example, A equals 1 because it's the first letter, B equals 2, C equals 3, all the way up to Z or Z, the 26th letter. 26 comes to the word God, comes to the word card, comes to the word game. So, I've spoken about this before, not these particular films like this, well, in some parts, but I have a selection of films that I like to call Q movies, and one of them is one called Michael, 51, Jasara, great, QQQ, 51, and that's the new Michael Jackson film. And there's some nice Easter eggs in there. One is he's talking to Quincy Jones and he calls him Q. I'm not saying Quincy Jones, the guy himself, is Q. I'm not saying that, but they're using the word Q, the letter Q. And there's also a nice reference to President Trump. There's a Triumph tour. Triumph is Trump plus Q17. So if you do that, it comes to 105, comes to 9/11, Savior, comes to a few things, Arcturian, but you see that in the film. And there's also a nice personal Easter egg. So there's a shop called Tom's Toys, and they show this a couple of times, and that obviously gets my attention. And Michael Jackson goes into a toy store and he buys all these games and toys, and he's going to take them back to, I think, his family, his brothers and his sisters, but Janet's not in the film, Latoya is. And then there's a woman that recognizes Michael Jackson in the queue, in the checkout, in the line, and she's there with her son. She says, "It's Michael Jackson." And then she says, she asks for an autograph, and she says it's for her son, but she really wants it for her. And it seems like her son is called Paul and she's called Pauline. She says it's for Paul, it's Pauline. And so he signs an item that he's about to buy, and that item is an Atari. Now this is where the nice Easter egg comes in. Some of you will know that the inventor of Atari, the computer game, his name is Nolan Bushnell, and obviously I'm a big fan of the Christopher Nolan films, but Nolan Bushnell, and it's in Tom's Toys, the toy shop, so it's Tom Bushnell. And then those that know my work for a long time will know that I talk about my cousin Paul Bushnell, 143 Ground Zero, 143 November 5th, Melania Trump 143, the President, the Tesseract, Building 7. So there's a nice Easter egg there. There's a nice triumvirate of the three things. There's Paul, there's Tom's Toys, and it's Nolan Bushnell. So that's a nice one. They keep coming, folks, keep coming. And then right at the end of the film, this is really interesting, it says that Michael Jackson's story is not over. And my friend Lindsay pointed this out to me, saying that Michael Jackson's last statement publicly was, "I'll see you in July." And I did a show last week about is Easter our timeline, and the word Easter is 68, which is July 68, Baron 68. So is July our timeline? Is Michael coming back then? We'll see. And then another film that has come out, or been re-released actually, and it doesn't seem to be on an anniversary particularly, but they've re-released it for a few days. One that I've spoken about a lot, and it's one that I got my original imagery of Fight Club from. So it's the film Fight Club. And I've seen it many times before, but I got to see it in the cinema. I will watch it again in the cinema. And when you do the numbers on Fight Club, Fight is 50, Donald 50, America 50, Paul 50, Eileen 50. Club is 38, gold, ocean, balance, edit, change. When you add those together, Fight Club comes to 88, Trump. And before I consciously knew what the numbers were, I chose my Sight Club imagery for my channel, and Sight Club comes to 109, but at the beginning, which is 17, which is also real Meatloaf, and Meatloaf is in that film. And at the beginning of Fight Club, they show the beginning and the end, and they mention Ground Zero. And then right at the end of the film, they mention Ground Zero again, and then 2 buildings come down, and they talk about it being a reset, a financial reset, taking all the credit card companies out, and imagery of the financial system. But it's there in Fight Club. And the other thing about the Twin Towers, if you do World Trade Center, it's 185, which is the Silver Reset, which is Book of Revelation, which is also Donald John Trump 185. And I've said this for a long time, that there's at least 2 Donalds. There's more. There's doubles, there's the Mar-a-Lago Trump, but there's POTUS and real Donald Trump, almost like a father-son relationship. But they refer to the World Trade Center as just a singular thing, but it's 2. And then you've got the new one, which is One World Trade Center. 1 is 34 DJT. So if you do DJT, 34 Leap Neo, Tam as in Scottish name for Tom from the Heretic film, and then you do World Trade Center 185 Donald John Trump, so it's 219, which also comes to the Mount of Olives, which is interesting. So you've got the biblical imagery of Christ coming and stepping on the Mount of Olives, and they'll cleave in 2. But then if you, and I've said this for a long time, that Christopher Nolan shows us in the Tenet film that at one point in time in this timeline, the 9/11 will get restored, and the 2 towers will come back, but they will keep the existing one. So you'll have 3. So it'll be 111, be 3 towers. New York is 111. I Am Trump is 111. So you can see how all of this works. And there's other things in Fight Club as well. It's very heavily about the RV. If it's on in cinemas where you are in the world, I'd encourage you to go and have a watch. Tyler Durden is 146, which is Truth Social, New Jerusalem, as in the Dove ship, the Dove spaceship, the Off-Worlders. 146 is also Ivanka Trump. And Ivanka famously, deliberately, did a brilliant piece of Q-ism in 2021, and she tagged, there's a picture of her and President Trump on Air Force One, and she tags Meatloaf. And Meatloaf's in the Celebrity Apprentice. The Apprentice is 140, Tom Numbers 140, the Trump's 140, the Quantum 140, the Military 140, the Currency 140. But she deliberately, on purpose, mistags, instead of her dad, she puts Meatloaf in that tag, and it got a lot of publicity, and they said that she changed it, but it's actually still the case. I've retweeted it and did a code on it today on my Twitter. I've done a code before, but I added more stuff today. And so why would they do that? Why would her and Donald do that? So if you look at the numbers on Ivanka Trump 146 plus Meatloaf comes to 73. That comes to 219, which comes to 1 World Trade Center. And if you do real Meatloaf, that's his Twitter handle, so he's apparently died, supposedly, if I remember rightly, it was 74 when he died, and that's Gematria, DeLorean, energy, connect, I should say. But if you do real Meatloaf, it comes to 109, which comes to my channel, Sight Club. So at the time, a few years ago, I thought, oh, they're giving a heads up to my channel, Sight Club, because it's Sight Club, Fight Club, the imagery is the same. So that's why they got the mirror image of me. But I chose all that instinctively, intuitively, guidedly before the numbers came in 2020. The numbers came in 2015. I got a preview of them, but it didn't come like a encyclopedia's worth in 3 weeks, which happened at the beginning of 2020, well, in Corona, as soon as we went into lockdown. And then there's another image that you can find, which I put on my Twitter. There's some pictures they've got of Meatloaf, and they've got him at the Q Award, so there's a Q on his shoulder. And Q is 17, 17th letter of the alphabet, and if you spell the word 17 as 109, Site Club 109. Daily Star, which is the newspaper, that conduit of the newspaper that I get the numbers through. But real Meatloaf is 109. Another thing that stood out to me when I watched the film last night, and I'll watch it again, is the Helena Bonham Carter character in Fight Club. Her name is Marla Singer. Now, this time round, I thought Marla Singer. I thought that sounds like Marla Maples. And I was like, okay, I'm going to check. Is Marla Maples, was she a singer? And yes, she was. And so you've got Marla Singer, which comes to 117, manifesting. It also comes to 5th Avenue, 117. And Marla Maples, President Trump's second wife, publicly, is and was a singer. And then I looked a bit further, and I was like, meatloaf. I wonder if you can have maple syrup with meatloaf. And you can. So maple syrup, if I've done this correctly, yeah, it is, comes to 146, which comes to Ivanka Trump, which also comes to Truth Social 146, and then add meatloaf, which comes to 73. That takes you to 219 again, which is One World Trade Center. That's how it works, folks. That's the power of the numbers. And it's so clever how they do it. They'll use 2 or 3 reference points at different times, different locations, and they'll circumnavigate and come back round again. And then I get the chance to decode it and share it with all of you good folk. So that's what it is. There's other things with that as well, which we'll see, I believe, in the not too distant future with it. But nevertheless, there's a reason Fight Club has come out. There's a reason Fight Club is 88 Trump. There's a reason I chose that imagery before I consciously knew, like I know now, about the numbers. And it's all there. It's all there, folks. So we do live in a beautiful divine matrix. The Great Awakening is taking place. So Donald Trump and Marla Maples, their daughter is Tiffany Trump. Tiffany Trump is 169, which comes to Trump Tower, which comes to the Great Awakening, 169. Also comes to my name, Thomas Bushnell, one of the versions of my name. But yeah, there it is. And the numbers started when I met Ivanka Trump back in 2015. That was 5 days before Donald and Melania came down the escalator, and she was there at that meeting, at that press conference in Manhattan, in Trump Tower. Manhattan comes to 92. The word numbers comes to 92. I didn't realize I would become Tom Numbers later down the line. I didn't realize that my name, Tom Numbers, that the audience gave me, is in all of these films that I'm talking about. So there's references to Bushnell, there's Tom Numbers references. There's a whole plethora of them, and they keep happening. So I'm very grateful for them, folks. So something is coming down the pipeline. And we're in the year of the fire horse, which is the antithesis, which is the antidote to the year of the rat. The year of the rat was 2020, which was COVID. We thought it would all be cleared up within a matter of weeks, but nevertheless we're here, and they've had this planned for a long time. Dark to light. Dark to light. It's coming, folks. It's coming. Dark to light is 125, which is also 8th Avenue, time travel 125. And what building is on 8th Avenue that you can connect to time travel? The New Yorker Hotel, which is where Tesla lived for a good 10 years or so. Wyndham New Yorker Hotel comes to 282, 88 miles per hour. 88 plus MPH comes to 125, time travel. Anyway, folks, I'll see you soon. God bless. You take care. Bye.